Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gantos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gantos.
Rad Gantos, he's chatting away. He's not even paying attention here as usual.
Oh, are we on the air?
Yeah.
Yeah, I warned people earlier on my little speedy video thing on Facebook saying that every time I sit down with this guy, it's just like the time just flies and all kinds of stuff comes out.
Why, thank you.
And then there's Paul. And then there's Paul.
Oh,
and,
I'm sorry.
and that laughter in the background that only an Irishman can actually
right.
make, right? That who's turning red. My God, that's a nice color on you.
Oh, yeah.
That's my co-host for the show that is coming up at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Greg Sullivan.
What's the name of that show?
He just wants to make sure I'm behaving
I forgot the
myself.
name of that show. What's the name of that show?
Oh, that show at 1 o'clock?
Yeah, what is
It's
that
something
show?
like, I don't know, like, you gotta, like, check it out. Like, check out California, I think is what it is.
Tune
check out
in,
California.
turn on, tune out. Right.
Check out California, your key to California hospitality.
There you go.
Okay. So, but that's in an hour. I'm not
That's
going to
in
talk
an
about that show, right? So you just sit quietly in there. Okay, okay, thank you. Wow, that's the first time he called me sir, too. And that's the last time. Okay, so I have a guy in the studio with me today.
You got a real guy. You got a guy that loves to talk football. We're talking football.
Not your kind of football. We're not talking about that football. But it's okay. I'll let you guys talk about that. I'll pretend it's football. But, when did I meet you, Joe? Was it like 2 months ago? A month ago, maybe?
Mont Blanc.
Mont Blanc.
South Coast Plaza.
Yeah. By the way, he hates name dropping.
Yeah.
So, Paul, we met at Mont
Mont
Blanc.
Blanc. Mont Blanc. We met at the south slope of
this show is going to chafe your backside. There's going to be a bunch
You know
of
what
stuff
you
going
don't
on.
realize, though, that you're surrounded on all sides by 3 Irishmen now.
That's
here.
okay. I'm in good company. I can hold my own. Bring it.
A Domino's pizza.
To keep him quiet again? Yeah, that's really why Craig's
Feed him.
here. He's
Feed him.
he's the enforcer on Paul.
Yes.
But no, I did not know that, so that just added another wee layer to my show today.
Really?
But I think we met like about 2 months ago, maybe at best,
Yeah.
at Mont Blanc, and they were having a launch of their redone showroom at South Coast Plaza. And we all pretended that we liked it. No,
Yeah.
we did like it.
I brought my pen and got a refill. You brought yours and got a refill.
That was really
Yeah.
actually pretty
Yeah.
funny. We bonded because it was like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, there's a Mont Blanc event. What are you here for? To get refills from my pen. What about you? To get refills from my pen. And a couple of glasses of wine, and then off we go. We're done.
Yes.
Oh, they still charge us for the damn refills, though.
I was
don't they?
surprised. And what I will tell you, though, the bag and all the stuff in it
Yeah.
costs far more than a refill of a pen.
And you know this because
Because I'm working advertising. and
you work in
marketing.
advertising. Nice slide, by the way. That
That's
was
how
a
it goes.
nice little
Yes.
slide in, right? And that energy is exactly what happened at Mont Blanc. And I said, you know what? I need to find out about this guy. And we were introduced by a friend of ours. You want to give a shout out?
Yeah, Rachel. Rachel Sabota, how you doing?
Who is, I believe, flying to Chicago to an advertising conference.
Makes perfect sense.
So I did tell Rachel if she's listening on the air, because you should be listening on the air because this is the most important thing going on right now.
It's all that's going on.
Right. To basically give a shout out or send a text message or something. But I'm glad I wanted to give her a shout out too. It was a very serendipitous, I think, meeting, and we immediately got into this conversation about most interesting man in the world. And we basically had like this ongoing competition. In fact, Greg's laughing. Greg's laughing.
We
He's
almost
like,
had him in here a
he's
while ago, the guy that originally did that. I met him at an event up in Long Beach for the Queen Mary.
Jonathan Goldsmith.
That's it. Right?
Yes.
Wow.
Shout out to the most interesting man in the world. Jonathan, they should have never changed the
Never.
casting on that ad.
Total
Right?
mistake.
Yeah, total mistake. And if you need us to call anybody, you just let us know. Joe and I will call whoever we need to call.
We'll send our best people.
Right. But yeah, we just had this like ongoing bromance and competition going on that evening because we were just there for the refills on the glasses and on
And
the
the one
fence.
thing I don't have is a radio show, which
See,
you
you-
ended up winning.
You with the radio show would be dangerous. But you're welcome anytime, by the way,
Oh,
Joe.
man,
Okay,
I
I'm putting it
appreciate
out
it.
there. Yeah. And so he started telling me about his stuff and what he's doing, and between being envious and jealous and like impressed and inspired and all this stuff, I said, you got to be on my show. So
and you know what it
here he
is? On an aging show,
and he
you're
kind of let
aging-
me work for it a little bit too, by the way. Just
You're
to be
aging
clear.
backwards. If with what I look like, you're going back to playing games again here.
Well, and I did tell people, I teased people earlier that we're going to tell you about something that your parents told you all your life you cannot do,
Yeah.
and we are here to say, yes, you can.
nah.
In fact, not only can you, but I propose that you take this thing and go to your parents' house and show them that you can as well. Whether you let your kids do it, we're not going to get into parenting here. But so Joe, speaking to Paul's question about journey and aging and all this stuff, right? Part of what we also talked about was just kind of life's journey and kind of how interesting twists and turns and where the road takes you and things that inspire you, right? So why don't you give people a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah. Best way to describe it is we moved 7 times growing up, and my father worked his way from a guy that climbed telephone poles, couldn't afford college, all the way to the general manager of AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see the American dream. We kept moving and moving, and the houses kept getting nicer, and I never got an allowance growing up. So by the time I was 14, I had 3 of my own small companies, lawn mowing, paper route, and such like that.
Probably at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. Well, it was in Chicago and New York, so it was winter, summer. It was seasonal.
So where were you born? Chicago?
I was born in Chicago.
Oh, whereabouts?
Yeah. Place called Glen Ellen,
Okay.
northwest suburbs.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't remember it the first time. My father was working in Manhattan, and we lived in northern New Jersey. And my first awakening was in Madison, New Jersey.
Very cool. And then so from Chicago to New Jersey, and then New Jersey to where?
We went back to Chicago again, and then back to New Jersey again. And my father went between New York and Chicago. And then the short of it is, as a kid, there was 4 of us kids, and I was the one that could never sleep. And so we always had a basement up north. So I was always sneaking down into the basement working on projects. I built a guitar. I built motors. I loved engine. I just loved working on stuff and tinkering with things. My dad he'd catch me downstairs, and he'd yell at me, but then he'd look at what I was doing, and then he'd try to help me, and then he'd realize it was getting late.
You sucked him in.
Yeah, I did. I would suck him in, but I was just a restless kid, and very fortunate and unfortunate maybe to be in high school at 13 and in college at 17. But also very fortunate to get a scholarship to RIT in New York, which was a great environment for me.
What is RIT?
Rochester Institute of Technology.
Okay. All right.
Go Tigers.
That's one thing we also have in common. I went to college at 16.
Come on now.
Yeah, but that was.
So you got me beat by a year.
No.
Everything.
That's not my doing. It was my grandfather, because I was born in January, and so my grandfather actually worked for a Christian, like nuns, school basically. And so I went in the year before I was supposed to go in. So it kicked me. Otherwise, we would have been 17.
Yeah, I got
but
you.
Yeah, but so when I'm only stopping to mention this because when you said, interesting choice of words, fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good in way. I got to grow up quicker, but for sports and some other things,
Some other things.
and some other things,
like girls.
Like, yes, you got it. There you go. But that didn't work out so bad. I got a beautiful wife and kids. So, but the short of it is.
And you played sports.
I
Didn't you?
did, yeah. I was, I played high school sports, but I was a college wrestler. I really enjoyed wrestling. Played, football and baseball, and youth sports growing up. But I loved wrestling and did pretty well. And
So why Institute of Technology? What were you pursuing?
Design.
Okay.
So I wanted to go for design, and they also had wrestling and
Design and wrestling.
Design and wrestling,
the two that go together instantly.
Like industrial design? Or
Yeah, graphic, industrial,
design.
applied design, and I did woodwork. I mean, it's a great school. Not many
Yeah.
people out here know it, but it's got a great reputation in the East Coast.
Yep.
The
So is that why you
resources-
like Mont Blanc pens?
You know what? It is. And I will tell you, I learned a lot about brand and a lot about product and a lot about design there. I studied under some amazing people. And the school is funded by Xerox, Bausch & Lomb, Kodak, which were bigger back then.
Yep.
But, and it was just a great resources. All the resources they had, the instructors they had, and it was cold as all get up. So there was nothing else to do with
So you were
books
in
and
the
sports.
basement all the time.
Yeah, it was books and sports.
Yeah.
And the lab was in the basement, and so it was no different from my childhood. It's exactly what I wanted to do. In fact, I didn't drink in college. I wasn't a partier. I remember my first morning of college in the dorm, and my eyes opened, and I realized my life began.
Interesting.
That this was it. This is my life now.
Right.
I own it. I love my parents. I have no. There was no issue there, but I knew that freedom was mine, and I never lived at home again. That was it. In fact, I graduated college in New York and got my Jeep, my mountain bike, and drove out west.
Wow. So you didn't even spend time, I mean, doing that with graphics and with that kind of passion. I would have thought that you would have spent some time in New York even working. But
I had all sorts of offers, but I did not want to work for somebody.
What made you? Oh,
I didn't want to work for anyone. I wanted.
Cool.
My brother was living. Actually, it's a timely story. My brother was living in Arizona at the time.
Okay.
And out in Scottsdale, he was an engineer. Went to Marquette, go Warriors, and so I said, hey, I'm going to go out there and start a company. I had no money. I had no money whatsoever.
Any idea what the company was going to be?
Yeah, I was going to do design.
Okay.
I wanted to make things and design things, do ads and do product design, kind of what you got right here.
And how old were you?
I was 20.
20?
20, yeah. I was 20 years old. So drove across the country with a good friend of mine, and I walked. This is a very timely story as per some news that came out yesterday. So I walked. My brother and I went to his office, saw his office there in Tempe, Arizona. I drove down a street named Mill Avenue, which is an old historic street, and right near Arizona State University. And I look at the coolest building I could find. Go Sun Devils. There you go, another plug. The coolest building I could find, I just walked in the front door, walked up the stairs, and knocked on the first door I saw, and I said, I'm looking, who does the office space here? I want to get an office. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. I just knew that I had to find out first, how to get an office.
You were 20.
I was 20, and it was just the coolest building in town. And she was smoking a cigarette indoors like they did. This is, early 90s. And she's, doing this thing. And she's like, oh, what do you do? I said, advertising, design. She goes, well, we run a magazine. She said, you should meet Judy.
Wow.
I said, okay, I'll meet Judy. So Judy comes up. She's puffing a cigarette. And just wonderful energy out of this woman. She's like, what do you do? And I said, here, I brought my portfolio with me. And so I show her my portfolio, and she has a magazine. And she says, listen, I've got some space at the end of the hall. And, she showed me to it, and I got a fold-up chair and a fold-up table. And she said, if you do design work for my magazine, I'll trade you out for this office space.
Wow.
Now, her name...
I mean, that's huge at 20.
Is huge. And her name is Judy Todd. Now, that was her remarried name. So that first summer I was there, there was two of her three sons came in the office. One of them was a young man named David, who was about my age, and he was doing stand-up comedy at the Improv in Tempe. He really wanted to be a comic. He was a really funny guy. So he'd come in the office, and we'd go out to lunch, and he would always talk like this, and he had some issues with this. He kind of talked like his mom sometime, but he was a great guy. And then her other son came in, named Andy, and Andy was an ad guy. So we got to talk, we got to meet, we were talking about ads and stuff, and then I got to meet his girlfriend, named Kate. And so who I'm talking about is David Spade and Andy Spade. And as you knew, the news
Spade.
yesterday. Yeah. And I got a little choked up because I'd never forget the first time I met her. I mean, such a beautiful, shining face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the time, he was just got a job at Kirschenbaum and Bond in New York. Kate Spade wasn't Kate Spade in terms of what it is as a brand at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, amazing memory. And but that's how I started my first company.
So you just walked into the first building you saw in a town you had just arrived in. Yeah. This is like one of those Hollywood stories where you walk in and get discovered at Schwab's drugstore.
Yeah.
And you just happen to walk in and meet this collection of people, and they're like, well, gee, I guess you want a job? Here you go. What happened to the struggle and the...
Oh, it was a struggle. And I will tell you, I had no money at the time. I maxed out the one credit card I got from college to buy a Macintosh 2 CI computer. And got that computer,
first computer
on the table with the metal chair. I can tell you this. I had a Jeep, which is a Volkswagen Thing, and we only made 15,000 of them. It's the most unsafe thing on the road, but I loved it. I remember getting home to my brother's apartment one night at 11 o'clock, and I had no idea what to do with myself because I had never been home that early. I slept in that office most of the time, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was terrible. Right behind the office was a Sheraton, the Mission Palms, beautiful hotel. That's where I'd go swim in and take a shower.
Yeah.
I got to know some of the people that worked there, and if they had a room where the air conditioning was broke, I could stay in that room. But that was my ecosystem, and all I wanted to do was work. It's what I...
And how did you find work?
Oh, that was easy.
That was
I just
easy.
walked up and down the street.
And just with your portfolio and said, here, you need any of this?
Yeah, I walked into Stan's Metro Deli and said, do you guys need some design work or ads? And he traded me out for food. So now I had some food. And it was like my kids, we play these games like Trade Nation and stuff. I mean, I realized I lived this. I mean, I really had no money to my name. I was in debt already, $5,000 with a computer. My car, luckily, I had bought for $600 in New York, and that was my wheels. And I went to
a Volkswagen thing,
which anybody who's
the
listening,
German
who
Kubelwagen from World War II. Yeah, I know.
That doesn't know what the Volkswagen thing is. Go check it out because there's a reason why they call it a thing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It was a revived German staff car from World War II. Yeah.
So what do you attribute that to, Joe? I mean, is it just not knowing any better, like driven, like what is it?
It's 20.
You're well, I know, I understand that, Paul, but I'm just curious if now.
And when do we lose that?
And that's a very good question we should come back to. But I mean, we now are afforded the opportunity to look back, right? I mean, so that story you just shared about Kate Spade and David Spade. I mean, when you met them, they were just these guys that basically were the kids that the mom basically was trading you for the office.
Yep.
Right. And then now you have the ability to look back and kind of trace that. So now looking back at that, what do you attribute that to?
I look at let's just take the four people in that office. David Spade, who at the time had a car with no windows. His car, he put towels in the windows, just to keep the sun out. I look at Andy, and I look at Kate. And I remember in that office, none of us really had anything. But we knew that if we wanted something, we had to go over it, under it, around it, and
whatever it took.
Whatever it took. And to be honest, it's I don't know. I always looked at it this way. In life you have deliberate creators and victims, and in times of my life I've been a victim. In my own mind I've been a victim. But and I had some terrible things happen to me as a kid too, which handcuffed me emotionally as a kid. But that's done. And I could easily rehash it and go down that road. But that part of my life is done. It's about being a deliberate creator. It says that when I wake up every day, I get the option, I get the opportunity to try to create something. And really, I should have been full of fear at the time. But what I do know is something that I learned, and I'll plug my book coming out in September, something I learned from a PhD sitting on an airplane. And I love people. I love talking to people. And I was sitting on an airplane, and I was going after one of the final edits of my book. This is just even a couple months ago.
What's the name of the book?
It's called The Anatomy of Yes, the story behind every sale. And I was talking to her, and we were talking about this and that, and she was doing research, and she told me this. She said, in the research from this certain doctor, and he's cited in the book, fear and gratitude compete for the same space in the brain. And fear uses a chemical called cortisone, and gratitude uses two chemicals, serotonin and dopamine. And that battle is waged every minute of every day in people's minds. And I in no way do I feel like I had a silver spoon growing up. I was never given an allowance, never given $1 from I remember when we were doing really well, and we lived in this beautiful house, and I remember telling my dad, Dad, I'm going to the movies, can I get $5? He's like, yeah, we're having a tough month. He would always say we were having a tough month. And in fact, he said, if any of you kids get a scholarship to college, I'll get you a new car. So I got a scholarship, and I got a new car, which was the car that both my brothers drove. That the Buick LeSabre, yes, that didn't drive. It didn't have a heater core, and two of the doors didn't open, and I was excited to have it.
Can I tell you, though, how much that resonates with me? Because I grew up in, it sounds like similar circumstances. My father was a child of the Depression, started off in the assembly line, became an executive with vice president with Chrysler Corporation. And so we moved every 3 years, my whole life, back and forth to Detroit. And came time to go to college. We're living in Bloomfield Hills, the most affluent suburb in the community there at the time. And my dad looks at me and says, I'd gotten into the University of Michigan, first kid to go to college and all this stuff. He looks at me and says, how are you going to pay for this? I said, Dad, look around. We're doing good. He says, I'm not paying for this. I never went to college. Nobody gave me a nickel. Yeah. He said, I'll tell you what, I got you a job working down on the assembly line down in the ghetto. There's black people down there. I've never seen black people. I've never been anywhere outside of this little white suburb. He says, well, that's the only way we're going to do. He said, if you do that, I'll split it with you. I thought my dad was the cruelest guy in the world. We fought, we screamed and everything. My friends thought, oh, my God, what a slave driver, what a horrible guy. I'm getting choked up. The best thing he could have ever done for me was to wake me up to the thing and to get me down and to see that reality, not so much just to make a little bit of money, but to make me feel like I earned it and did something for it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the ability.
But that's the old World War II school that sounds like you came from.
That's the ability to look back and basically have reflect on your life. And I think a lot of people, out of a sense of not enough time and not enough, that other things are distracting and more priorities. Don't do that, and yet that is a very important thing to do. It's almost a necessity, I think, to do.
Right.
In order for you to be able to get past certain things, for you to be able to not repeat certain
When
things.
I came to California, this is what other thought. Maybe you say your dad having a tough month. You're looking in. I know the suburbs; those are really nice areas that you're living in suburban Detroit. In Chicago. And my dad, I'm moving to California. Okay, I've left. I've graduated from college. I'm coming to California to seek my fortune. You got any final words? Anything you want to say to me, Dad? As I load up my little tiny Omni Horizon, and I've got everything in the world. I'm coming to California, and you don't know when you're going to see me again. He reluctantly reaches in his pocket and pulls out a $50 bill without saying anything and hands it to me. I thought, this won't even get me enough gas to go to Chicago, Dad. But to him, that was $1 million. Mm-hmm. Now, he had a lot more money he could have given me, but for him to hand me anything was so huge.
Well, Paul, one thing that sometimes we forget is that people have certain abilities to do certain things, to express things in a certain way.
Right.
And it's really, sometimes we get in our own way because we filter those people's abilities to give and participate through our own filter of what should happen.
Right.
And in doing so, we deny the joy of experiencing what it is that they're giving.
My first reaction was I was offended when he handed me $50.
Yeah, exactly.
And then my second reaction was, but knowing him, this is huge.
Right. So again, to me, and I had to learn that lesson from family as well as from others, to be open to what it is that people are giving.
Yes, right.
And seeing it through their eyes versus my own filter.
Bingo.
And if you do that, then life gets a lot richer, because now you're really experiencing what it is, the giving that they are doing, versus feeling left out or somehow despondent that it wasn't enough, or wait a minute, that's not what you're supposed to say. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing, I'm listening to both of you, is this: how old are you?
I'm 62.
Not because you don't like saying it. I'm sure you're
62.
Okay.
Oh my
and
God.
Joe, how old are you?
50.
So here's the interesting thing. For those who say, and you just did, oh, it's the old school, da-da-da. It's not. Here's two people that share a similar approach and have a shared experience of when they started, and yet the difference of age, would basically shatter that idea that this is a generational thing. It is not. It is a person thing. What I was gonna ask you, Joe, is when I was asking the question about looking back and reflecting, is can you credit that moment of awareness? I mean, you kind of touched a little bit on when you went to college. There was a moment of awareness. This is now my life is starting. Okay, here you are now in Arizona. Looking back, are there moments where you had that sort of conscious awareness that you were turning a corner, that you were gaining insight into something?
Yeah, I remember.
Because you don't just, in my mind, you don't just, you had to either seen it or somewhere along the way taken the time to kind of delve in behind the scene of your own soul and see what it is.
Because
that
usually you
drives
don't see it until afterwards. You look back and you say, oh, that was a turning point.
But most people don't even do that, Paul. Most people are so busy, and I'm not picking on them, but they don't even do that. So for a kid at 20 to walk into a town, to Paul's point, that he has no reference to other than he has a brother that lives there that's busy with their own life, and basically walk up to a building with a portfolio of stuff and somehow leverage that into a barter system of an office, and then walk up and down the street to get work. I mean,
I remember the conscious decision. So my car had a hard top, so I drove without it all the time, and I remember how hot it was in Arizona. It was just blazing hot. Every time I get in the car, it was hot. Everywhere I went, it was hot. And I remember one distinctive day, I was doing work, a lot of digital work and advertising, and a local agency, the biggest affiliate of McCann Erickson in Phoenix, actually, hired me to teach their people up and learn them up on digital technology and advertising. And so I was, again, really young, teaching some very senior people, but a great culture. Mike Beaumier, I'll never forget the guy. He ran the shop there. Just a really neat guy. And I remember one day, I'm driving home, and I hear, as I got in the car, I hear this, and the radio was like, I had it with styrofoam stuffed in the it didn't, because I wanted a custom radio, so I didn't have it installed correctly. But anyway, I'm listening to the radio, and they say, there's an audition. Fox TV is having an audition for a show called Studs. Okay, and they're doing Studs across America. They're going to 10 cities, and they're picking one guy from every one of these 10 cities, and they're going to compete in Los Angeles. And I remember, I knew where it was. It was at one of I think the Biltmore Hotel. They were having the thing there.
Yeah, it's a great property, too.
Yeah, and so I said, and I remember there was a fork in the road right there. There was the off-ramp, and then it was go straight.
Literally a fork in the road, right?
I knew for a fact if I turned my wheel to the right, something different would happen. I knew for a fact at the time. I can still see it. And I took the fork. I got up there, and it was a mass crowd of people. And it was people, and I was like, I just didn't have time for it. I was busy. I had to get back to the office and do stuff. And I was standing around. I said, how long is the wait? He said, it's probably a couple hours. And I said, I got to go. And he says, why? I said, I can't wait this long. He goes, tell you what, why don't I get you up, in the first 10 minutes? I said, you do that? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay. So anyway, long story medium. I go in there, and they...
He's Irish for sure.
Yeah, for
This guy's
sure.
Irish
Yeah,
for sure.
So I go in there, and they ask these questions in front of this whole auditorium of people. They said, he said, if you could have any woman in the world, who would it be? I said, the Little Mermaid. He said, she's got a great voice, it's pretty hot.
That's kind of disturbing.
Yeah. But anyway, they ended up picking me to go out to this thing in California, and I remember, and I just knew that life was going to change in a way. So I got on an airplane, and they flew me out to stay at the Roosevelt Hotel for a week, and then I went on these dates, and they filmed this live TV show. And
Yeah, I remember Studs.
you remember this? It was like a big thing at the time.
Now I'm going to have to go back and find
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. Well, it was yeah, and it was pretty fun. Anyway, it was a guy from Indiana that I went up against, and he was a really nice guy. We became friends, but I ended up going back to my work back in Arizona, and I get a phone call from a couple of agents and managers that had seen the show, and I said, look, I didn't have a theater department growing up. It's not what I do. Anyway, I knew that was a change in my life. The guy that I was roommates with at the time is a gentleman named Armand Balthazar. Armand Balthazar is the author of Timeless, which is a book that just came out from HarperCollins. And that book is being made into 3 films by Ridley Scott.
And you just run into these people all over the place
I grew
here?
up with him, yeah, and his nickname is Dobie. But Armand and I grew up together. We were roommates, and so we both had a calling to come to California. And I definitely knew nobody in California.
So you came to California because of the Studs thing and stayed here?
No, because what happened was, so I go out there.
No, you went back to Arizona.
Yeah, I went back to Arizona, and then I get a call, and I go out there for a meeting. And at the time, I had met one person through church that knew one person in California. And that one person got me a meeting with an ad agency in California, and to do in contract work. That's all I wanted to do, because I was kind of a hired gun to do pitches and national pitches. So anyway, I walked in the guy's office with my portfolio again, and said, hey, here's what I do. If you want some freelance work, I'd be happy to do it. That guy called me, and he said, when can you start? And I said, well, I got to go back to Arizona. So I went back there, and Dobie and I said, we're going to move to California. And so within, I don't know, a month, we were gone. And I knew that's what, and it was tough. I mean, I still very close to my brother and his family, but, going from a place where I knew one person to, him, Armand and I knowing nobody it was a pretty big leap.
So you didn't necessarily have a plan of action. You didn't necessarily have a roadmap. You were just open to what came your way.
A gentleman like this told me this once, a gentleman named Lee Chafin. And it's funny you use the word roadmap. And he said, Joe, you're like a road runner. Roadrunners don't always know where they're going, but they create activity. They create energy, and they're the kind of people that jump off a cliff and build a plane on the way down. And so, and that's
Build a plane on the way down.
and that's not my quote. That was from somebody else. But
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I do believe that people are wired in certain ways, and there are people that are wired in a society to be problem solvers. People that I've been called a change agent many times, where you can come into a situation, and they call it in literature the Deus ex machina, or the gods of the machine, and where I can come into a situation, identify
Anybody
things.
that can quote Latin, he must have gone to Catholic school like I did.
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
All boys. And
They'll
so,
make you quote Latin.
And so it was. I think it was that I do believe that people are wired. Everyone has a gift. Everyone has a talent. And if I do have a talent, it's that social enterprise vision that I have. I love helping people in scale. The mentoring work I did at Cal Fullerton for 5 years. I thought, one could say, boy, Joe, what great work you were doing mentoring these kids at Cal Fullerton on these plans.
What were you doing, mentoring them in what?
So we would take a group of 6 to 7.
He was turning them into studs.
Fullerton.
Yeah, Fullerton. We would take 6 to 7 undergrads or 6 to 7 MBA students, and we would go to real companies, and over a semester we would create a very systematic marketing plan, executive summary and business plan, and we would do weekly meetings, and then we'd do a final presentation to the company, to the C-suite.
So it was a real life situation, giving them that opportunity while they were students in school.
Absolutely. And now I'll give this a shout out, Professor John Jackson at Mahalo School of Business.
JJ, they call him JJ. He's been in here numerous times.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's the real stud. And but that's a great program. And at the end of 5 years of doing that, I walked away realizing how much I got out of it. I learned a lot.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, right?
It is.
You could put yourself in a classroom, and you're the one who's also being taught.
At the pace Rad's doing this, we could be here all afternoon. So I got to cut to the chase. How did you get to? What do you do now? And what with the games?
No. You don't get to take over the show.
On. We're running out of time here. Craig's waiting to do the next show.
You don't get to take over the show. You don't get
Craig's
to take over the show.
Craig's looking at me saying we're not going to make 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Craig. Okay. So you are still pursuing this because this same thread, right? You're still kind of exploring opportunities that come your way. You're still kind of giving back in that way, right? Energizing, inspiring people, and so forth, right? How do you do that today?
3 main things: through a book, a ball, and real estate agents.
Okay.
So say those again. You threw them out so fast.
Yeah, a book, a ball, and real estate agents.
Okay, so talk about the book.
The book is, I wrote it in 46 hours on a train. Having a wife, 2 houses, 3 kids, and obligations to clients, nonprofits, everything else.
Let me understand this correctly. Yeah. You actually got on a train to put yourself in a space where you could write a book.
I handcuffed myself to the project.
Okay.
And that was the only way to do it.
Where were you going?
Did it matter where
Just got on a train and sat there?
Up and down the coast of California, going nowhere. But going everywhere. That was the point. Because I knew I get a lot of work done when I travel, when I'm flying airplanes, because there's nothing else to do, and I call it being handcuffed to your work. And I thought, hey, I should just get on a plane and fly around, but that didn't make a lot of economic sense. So I just, I had taken the kids down to San Juan Capistrano a few times in the train. I said, you know what? And I looked at the train schedule. They have this thing called the Coast Starlight, which is like an old school train from the 50s. Comes out of Union Station. And I just, and I figured out what I needed. I had the outline to the book, and it was based on a presentation I gave here in Orange County. So I do a lot of public speaking. I spoke to a group one night, and they kept me there for 2 hours on a Q&A session because I was dissecting each of their companies, the archetype of each of their companies. And this woman said, you need to write a book about this. And I said, I really don't have any time. And she says, no. You just spent the last 3 hours now telling us that we're bound by nothing and that we can accomplish anything. You need to write a book. I said, okay, since you put me on the spot, I will write what constitutes a book within 1 year. And the next day, as an act of public testimony, I put a blog post on LinkedIn saying it was great meeting with everyone last night, and I promised that within a year's time.
Here's my accountability.
Yeah, and I did it. Yeah, I used the internet to do that for me, and some great comments. So I was about 3 months away from this promise.
The deadline's coming.
And it started back in 2015, and so I had an outline. I went on a Survey Monkey and paid for an audience of avid book readers. And I said, based on 3 titles in 26 chapters, what would you want to read? And just the title of the chapters. And they came back, and it was almost unanimous, this whole idea of archetypes in business, why a parent dies in the first 15 minutes of a Disney movie, and then Beggars and Choosers, Values and Desires.
So what is archetypes in business?
So
other than they need to read the book.
Because there are certainly archetypes in storytelling, the hero's journey and all. I studied screenwriting, the hero's journey, all this stuff.
Did you write the book?
No, I'm just saying. I want to point out that archetypes in storytelling are a well-known feature.
I understand, but in what you do, because I'm assuming that the audience that you presented to was business-oriented.
It was all business.
Yeah, so what is an archetype in business?
Sure. So archetypes is archetypos, which is original form. It's a Greek word. And the idea of original form is that there are only, under my theories, which are founded on Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell, there are only 5 stories ever told in business. The hero's journey.
The hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, exactly. Yes. See, I knew where I was going with this.
A lot of layers to this.
Yes, there's a lot of layers to it. And this came through many, many years of failure, many, many years of talking to very smart people. And a University of Notre Dame teacher I had in high school who first opened my eyes to archetypal patterns in literature.
Right.
And I kept seeing a correlation between literature in business.
Well, that's one of the sad things that we have lost when we have basically lost putting emphasis on literature and the classics.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of that stuff. I was fortunate enough to be exposed to that, and I use it every day. I mean, strength of language, just crafting scenes with words, and actually having those archetypical roles. Yeah, it's fascinating. So,
can you give us the quick summary of the archetypes? Just so we know.
Do you have any particular set archetypes in the book? Okay.
Oh yeah, there's 5, and they're based on some history. Again, Young, Campbell, Dan Seberg, a guy I had in high school, and business. So I'll start with one real simple, explain it, and give you the other 4. The quest for identity.
Okay.
A quest for identity is when a hero in a story goes out, like Jason Bourne in the Bourne Identity, goes out and tries to understand and find out who they are. Were there places in this world? Are they a hero? And Disney movies use this all the time. You look at their heroes, and they're the sort of reluctant hero, and they go through a series of tests where they have allies and enemies. And that quest for identity becomes who they are. And that exists in our own lives as children. You see, as children, we put on masks and capes, and we dress up like princesses and pirates as we wield swords because we were trying to figure out who we are.
Every freaking Marvel movie out there right now,
Exactly.
every single DC book or comic book you ever read,
Bingo. So when I was National Brand Director at Disney Store, I started, again, revisiting these archetypes when we were talking about the hero's quest for identity. And when I look at business, brands are almost always, especially clothing brands, a quest for identity. You showed me the inside of your pocket.
Dave Wellsby's book. Who you got?
I've got Ted Baker.
Ted Baker, yeah.
The clothes that we wear, what we choose to wear, what we put on our feet, what we drive, the houses we live in, are all part of this formation of our identity. And
You talked about Kate Spade. Yeah, I mean, that whole thing.
About Kate Spade. This starts at a very young age. I'll give you one teaser. And I talk about it in detail in research. By the time we're born, in the first 20 minutes, we will have adjusted the frequency of our cry 20 times to get the attention of our parents. It's done instinctually.
Wow.
Children will go to 300, 600 decibels, or adults, 300, 600 decibels. A child will go up to 900 decibels.
Wow.
1,200 if one of the parents is addicted to drugs.
So you're calibrating for the attention.
Bingo. And they're trying to find, so we never lose this quest in our life to try to find an identity. The others are dragon and treasure, which is very simple. Kill dragon, get treasure. This is business all day long. Then you have what's called the descent into the underworld, and then you have a restoration of the wasteland, and then the quest for the Holy Grail.
Very cool way to actually put them in
really
the book.
cool.
Yeah, now I'm
really cool.
really
Now you tease me
to read it.
When does the book come out, or
So-
when is
so-
it?
so-
Just so we.
hold on. So
You don't want to plug the book?
No, hold on a second. I'm gonna let him plug the book, but I'm curious because there's another thing here. We talk about the show being a journey of aging, right? Okay, so from day one we are this, right? I'm assuming you picked that particular archetype because it is a common archetype that is
We're born into.
The quest, and you use that word, okay? Does the quest ever get fulfilled?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the last one is the quest for, there's a chronology to these, and I just named them in chronology.
Yeah.
Every business goes through them in the life of their company.
Yeah.
Every person goes through this in the life of their own. It's the quest for the Holy Grail, which is eternal life and your legacy that you leave on this earth.
So so going through the archetypes in the sequence that you mentioned is a learning journey as well to get to that last archetype.
It's a
That
compound.
You can't jump an archetype. You got to go through the archetype
You have
to the
to.
next one.
Especially the descent into the underworld.
Okay.
You have to go through it several
So
times.
now that I basically got that out, when is the book coming out?
It's scheduled to be out in September. It'll be Beacon Press out of Ohio. The funnier story is I wrote the book because I didn't have time. I had no intention to make money on it. I just wanted to fulfill this promise and make it, a self-published book.
Yeah.
So I wrote it, and I knew what I had to do. I wrote it in 46 hours on the train, the first draft, and I went and found a woman that self-publishes books. And you pay her a fee, and she was highly recommended, so I sent it to her. And she said, you may want to approach a publisher with this. I said, I thought I just did. She said, no, I think you should give this a go.
Like a main paper.
Yes, so I sent it to two publishers only, and I said, if I go 0 for 2, because I had other things, I wanted to check this off my list. I had 2 other things going, and I'm like, 2 publishers, if I go 0 for 2, I'm self-publishing.
Right.
And fortunately, I heard from both of them, and within 2 months, the twist was I was given a book deal in advance, and the twist was it was a 2-book deal.
So there's another one coming.
And I said, I'm not a.
Another.
I said,
I'm
not a writer.
Another train trip coming.
I thought they'd make it a trilogy to keep the storytelling alive
You know what?
here.
You know what? But
Lord of the Rings.
I bet you that Joseph Campbell, when he wrote the first book, didn't think there was going to be another one coming.
No. And I keep telling him, I said, I'm not a writer. I said, you keep saying that. And I said, I'm not an author, but it's been a wonderful, it's really been wonderful working with Beacon as well. In fact, I've done about 5 speaking engagements just on a book. And I even said, maybe we never release the book. Because it's really good before it's released.
So will it be out in retail, or is it just online, or how are people going to be able to get it or find out about it?
Through Beacon Hill, probably both. Yeah.
It's a world that I don't invent to say that I know. I know that the contract I went over with my attorney very closely, and I know what's supposed to happen. Audiobook, everything from Amazon to retail and all these other. But I don't know the way this goes. The only person that's guiding me on this is an author that has sold 25 million books. And so I'm kind of I'm taking his lead on this and kind of doing what he tells me to do.
So now, Joe, that you got that off your to-do list.
What were the other 2?
And I think it's hilarious that you got it yourself on the train, by the way. Scenery must have been great.
It was great. Right? I got great pictures, and it wasn't heroic, honestly.
Did you ever get off the train for anything?
I did. I got off the train because I had to work out the schedule. I got off the train and did an Airbnb Airstream. So I stayed in a night in an Airstream, and then I just walked, a few miles to reflect on what I was doing, and then I went to a restaurant and wrote till it closed, and then. So it was just, and again, this was not a heroic cause.
Where was the Airstream in the restaurant?
It was in, you know where this is. It's where the good wine is, Paso Robles.
Oh, Paso Robles. Central Valley.
Yeah, Central Valley.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, and it was.
What did your wife think? Honey, I'm going to take off for a couple days to just ride the rails.
She said that's better than taking a month off. She was real supportive, and she's a smarty pants. She's a professor. College professor, and so she knew, and she knows me.
So time's a fleeting past here. Quickly, we got the book out. We got the other 2, the ball and the what?
So it's off your list. What else? What else are you now doing?
So yes. So I.
We got the book down. There was a ball.
So the short of it is, I got 3 children. When my oldest started playing soccer in the house, she started breaking things, and me, Mr. Supportive Parent, said, "You know what, honey? Look, we've got if that's the price it's going to take. We've got to endure a little pain for her to be great at soccer." And she's like, okay. Then she kicked the ball and it knocked over a plate of spaghetti on our brand new custom couch and got spaghetti sauce all over it. And I said, ball's out of the house. And then I felt bad. And so I said, I called my brother John. He is a 2-time national NSCAA Coach of the Year in soccer out of Wisconsin. And I said, John, what do I get for the kids to train in the house? It's blazing hot outside. They don't want to go outside. What do I get? He goes, Joe, it's all junk. I said, what do you mean? There's got to be something. I've seen like the ball on the bungee, the ball on the stick. He goes, Joe, it's all junk. The secret to soccer is bilateral training. They have to use both feet at a young age, and if they don't, they can't. I said, okay, fine. If you could have any training device.
It's almost like dancing.
It's like dancing. Yeah. Exactly. You have like piano. You can only piano. He uses that example. He says, you need 2 hands. So I said, okay, if you could have any training device in the world, what would it be? He goes, an anti-gravity ball. A ball that, like, when you're on a space station and move slowly, that is what I would use in a ball you could hit indoors, because players will only get 150 touches a day. They need 200 to 250 touches a day to be an Olympian, which he's coached up when they were starting at about the age of 4. So I said, okay. So I had no intention of making money on this. I got a balloon and some duct tape and my daughter, and we just started making a balloon that behaved, spinned, and moved like a real ball, but that you could hit in the house and wouldn't break things. A beach ball didn't work, a balloon didn't work, and we did all these different iterations. We had fun. We'd go down to the post office and weigh, put on this little digital scale, because I started learning up on the radius, the size, the dimensions of a ball, 16 ounces, 26.
This is a guy who has guy has no time to write, no time to build a ball.
Exactly.
Right.
No, I was doing full-time, my days were full, and this is what I was doing at night. This was my basement activity.
And what did you do during the day? People want to know.
I was taking care of clients. Advertising.
And where is your 9 to 5 now?
So right now I'm doing most of my work for First Team Real Estate, First Team Christie's, and I love it because these realtors are entrepreneurs, all of them. Yeah. They run their own universe, and they're killers. And they, just like me, they had no backup, no guarantee of income, no 401k, but no ceiling on what it is they can go out and do and earn. So I love working with them. 48 specific agents of theirs. I've had one-on-ones on their top agents. They're wonderful people. It's a great
So you're
company.
doing this it's the way you phrase it. This is your basement activity.
This is my basement activity.
You're still in the basement, Joe.
I'm still in the basement. Yes, and I forever will be.
So hold up
I'll
the
be
ball.
buried in a basement.
So hold up the ball as time runs out. What do we got?
So this is what happened. The long short of it is, I came up with a ball, and we shot a video at the house with some Olympic athletes that my brother knew.
Hold it a little closer to the camera because I can't quite get it here.
And we shot this thing at the house, and again,
Victory with a U.
Victory with a U. And like a road runner, I went out and shared this video with I was at a trade show with another client about a year and a half ago, and I showed a video to this ball company, largest ball maker in the world, and they said, "Can we? When can we see that? Can you come out to Ohio and show it to us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. When do you want to see it?" They're like, "As soon as you can." So I flew out there, showed them the ball. The company's Hedstrom. They're out of Ohio. And the CEO looked at his product guy and said, "How much would it cost to make that?" He gave a price, and the CEO took me to lunch, asked me if I was interested in selling the company. I said, "No, I'm having fun with it." And they've been great partners. We took it to New York International Toy Fair in February.
This year,
and Fatherly Magazine named it out of 150,000 toys, top 12 best toy. Which was really humbling, too, in many ways.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. And that's when I looked at them when the article came out. I said, guess what? This is where the work begins.
Yeah.
This is where the work really
Aren't
starts.
you ever amazed that you just walk into these things and you get two publishers when the woman who wrote Harry Potter went through 200 publishers or something. You get a walk into a place in Tempe and get an immediate job and a place to work. You go to an audition and you go to the head of the line and get picked as one of the studs. I mean, you just seem to have this happenstance.
So what do you accredit that to? I mean, it's luck of the Irish. I mean,
luck of the Irish, absolutely.
What do you accredit that to?
I've told you maybe 5 things.
Yeah.
I haven't. I have not told you the 5,000 failures that I've had in my life, and I'm telling you, they were hard failures. I've got over 500 stitches in my body. I have gone through up and down, physical, emotional hurricanes. Because when you put yourself, and it's just like Cervantes said in Don Quixote, when you fight and do battle with windmills, you either get cast into the mud or cast into the stars. It was chapter 13.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I've been thrown into the
Classic
mud.
literature, ladies and gentlemen. Pick up a book every once in a while. This is what happens to you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's great. Thank you for sharing that, because I think in society we also forget that that's part of that story as well. That's the side that you don't maybe necessarily talk about, but it is definitely part of that journey, right? So how do you survive it?
By always remembering where I came from. I will tell you this, that my first memory in life was watching my little sister die. And I can remember it like it was yesterday.
Yikes.
It was and I blacked out for a few months after. I was really young.
What did she die of?
SIDS. And I mean, it's, I don't know, Mom,
How old
sorry
were
if
you?
I do this. She was 1, I was 3.
Okay.
And I still remember my mother trying to resuscitate her. That was my first memory in life. And it's life, I mean, it is a hurricane. But in the middle of it, there's a beautiful eye. Calmness. And that's what I look for. And I'm willing to fly right in the face of the hurricane to find that calm.
Find the calm. And hold on to it as long as you can.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to be calm
That's
and
great, Joe.
do any of this?
You hashtag the Raad Life first. You call Raad first.
My buddy Joe Burke right here.
This is my guy. This is my contact.
He's your agent. Right.
Yes. The easiest way to get a hold of me probably is through Joe. There's 2 ways you can get a hold of me. Joe at anatomyofyes.com.
That's the book.
That's the book. If you want to get a hold of me for real estate, and if you have any interest in being a rock star in real estate, Joe at firstteam.com. If you have any interest in getting these balls, if you go to victory.com or ollieball.com.
Victory with a U.
Victory with a
We
U.
have the other one too.
Yep. We've already sold 523 victory balls, and you can't even buy it yet. It won't be out until
This is
August.
like a Shark Tank story where you're going to go in.
Yeah, they called twice. We
then we
turned them down.
Come on.
But we, thank you for that. And the thing with the ball is we will be in a major retailer, I can't say who it is, in October, and another major retailer in the spring. So, and again, I can tell you this, my kids created this problem, and my kids are the ones that solved this problem. And my brother, too, has been a huge partner on this, and has really been great.
And what was your third thing, just quickly? You had a ball?
And real estate. And I touched
real
on
estate.
that,
Yeah,
real
that's
estate,
right. Okay.
working with these realtors.
So, Joe, I really appreciate you being here.
One of the most amazing
really
journeys, one of the most captivating stories, and I'm a storyteller. I can talk forever, as these guys will attest. You outshone us all.
Well,
today.
we've talked about this, that this kind of quest, this kind of journey doesn't end. It may change, it may morph, it may take on a different side street or whatever. But if you have this passion for exploration, this passion for being open to what life has to offer, and thanks for sharing the fact that was your earliest experience too, because I think that's important for people to know that there's pain sometimes, there's things that motivate us to look past that pain, and this is why we say, pursuit of passion all the time. Find your own passion, pursue it, do whatever you need to do to basically be true and authentic to it, be on brand.
Agreed.
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, thank you. Really.
I hope you'll come back when the book comes out and when the balls start bouncing, and we can talk more about this, because it's an amazing story.
This man will have me. I'm game.
Always. And for now, I will relinquish the mantle of the most interesting man.
No, I don't want it. It puts a target on your back.
You don't want it?
I don't want it.
I got newsflash for you, buddy. It is on your back.
I will take second most interesting man alive.
How about we share it?
Yes, okay, it's shared.
Done.
We have an accord.
And Rachel, thank you for the introduction. I have a feeling this guy and I are going to be basically good friends for a long time.
I think so.
You have been listening to the Raad Life Radio Show with your host and age explorer, Raad Gantos, brought to you on the one and only octalkradio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.
Imagine what it would feel like to lose everything: your job, your home,